right, once again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm already getting a few comments. Thank you all. Thank you. We've had quite a number of people registering to be a part of this conversation. Matter of fact, we had people registering from Malawi. We had people registering from Tanzania. We had about 7 African countries. So we are hoping that we get to have all of them join us this very, very morning. We just want to understand the place that our audiences currently stand when it comes to gender equality. And so we're just going to do a very simple poll. It comes with 2 questions. I'm launching the poll. If you are on the call right now, you could actually join in and then answer the questions that we have sent so that we can understand where our audiences stand this morning. So I'm quickly launching the poll. I'm sure you can see it. Let me know if you can see the poll that has been launched. Okay, so the first question says that when you hear the term gender equality, what comes to mind first? And the options are 4. We're saying equal opportunities for everyone, women's empowerment, fairness and human rights, competition between men and women. And then the second question says, who do you believe has the greatest responsibility for advancing gender equality? And the first one says governments and policymakers, women and women's organizations, men and male allies. We have educational and religious institutions. And then the very last one says everyone has a shared responsibility. And so please go ahead to feel to join in. Let's answer the question and let's see if we will be able to understand what our audiences think of the topic gender equality, even as a framework, even as a concept, even as a practice. And so in a few seconds, I will be ending the polls. And so if you haven't answered the questions, please do. I'll be ending the polls pretty soon. All right. Okay. All right, go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. End poll. All right. And so let me share the results of the polls that we have. I hope everybody can see the results that we have right now. Let me also check the results as well. Okay. Recording in progress. All right, so our result says that we have about 50% who says that when they hear the term gender equality, so I want our speakers to actually take note of these standings of our audience so that they can understand, I mean, particularly what our audience think about the topic. So they're saying that 50% are saying that when they hear the term gender equality, what comes to mind is equal opportunities for everyone. 30% says when they hear the term, what they think of is women's empowerment. 20% are saying that when they hear the term, all they hear is fairness and human rights. Unfortunately, no one actually selected the 4th option, which is competition between men and women. That is amazing. We have some very enlightened people in the room today. Number 2, who do you believe has the greatest responsibility for advancing gender equality? We have 30% saying it is the responsibility of the government and policymakers. We have 20% who are saying that it is the responsibility of women and women's organizations, CSOs, and all the other people who push the cause of the acceleration of the woman. And then no one chose men and male allies. No one chose educational and religious institutions. And then 50% are also saying that they believe that equality is everyone's business. And so it is a shared responsibility. All right, from our polls, now we understand what our people are thinking, and I'll just be ending, I'll stop sharing the results at this moment. I'm sure that our speakers have gotten a snapshot of what our people are perceiving and they are thinking around the topic at this moment. Thank you very, very much. All right. Okay, I'm still trying to move our third speaker from, I'm moving her from the attendee list to ours. It has been a bit, okay, please give me a minute. Lady Ajo. All right, so whilst I try to do that, we'll definitely start with our conversation this morning. Once again, I didn't even mention my name earlier, but most of you know me. My name is Gifty Boatemaa Annan, and I would say that I'm proud to be leading the establishment of HERizon Africa, which happens to be a Pan-African woman-centered hub with three major pillars. Number one, we'll look at the three P's that we work with. Number one, we're looking at power, which has to do with women's leadership and representation. Number two, we'll look at what we call prosperity, which has to do with women's economic agency. And number three, we're looking at partnership, which is building alliances for change, particularly having men as partners in progress. And those are the three major key pillars that define the work that we do at HERizon Africa. One of our key subsidiaries is what we call the HERizon Network. Currently, we have chapters across about 6 African countries. We have chapters in Mauritius. It's a budding chapter. All the chapters are young and growing chapters. And so if you're on this call and then you are within any of these African countries, please do well to join any of our chapters. And then even if you're not in any of these African countries, you can still join the network because we are actually expanding. We have chapters in Ghana, we have chapters in Nigeria, we have a chapter in Mauritius, Uganda. We have also a chapter in, I think, Boatemaa as well. And currently we are building one, the global diaspora. And I want to say that a very, very big thank you. And our registration for membership is open. And funny to know, it's not only open to women, it's open to men as well. Just like we said, we are actually trying to build the partnership and build alliances for change. And so men are part of our network. We call them male allies. And so they also register to be a part of the network because the conversation we are having is everybody's business, just like some of us indicated. Today, I am very excited to have very key people here. Okay, Lady Ajo has joined again. Please let me promote her and see if that works. Joining as a panelist. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome, Lady Ajo. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I do not know if we're able to see your video.
Okay, yeah. I think you should be able to see my video now.
Okay.
Can you see me now?
Yes, I can see you. I hope everyone else can see you. Okay, I can see you. So we have with us this morning, we have Dr. Doris Mawuse Aglobitse, who happens to be the Gender and Human Rights Team Lead from the United Nations Populations Fund. Dr. Doris, can you please give us a wave? And if you want to say a hello to our audience this morning, please do.
Hello.
that was brief. All right, we also very soon we're going to be hearing from all of them. We have a couple of questions for them, and so we'll be having their thoughts on these questions as far as gender equality is concerned. We also have with us Leonard Selim Gobah, social development advisor from the British High Commission, Accra. Mr. Gobah, would you want to say a hello to our audience this morning? Please do.
Hello, audience.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Priscilla just joined in, but she has gone off again. I think it's a matter of the network. Priscilla Kortsu is actually the founder and gender governance strategist for the organization called Smart Women Collaborate. Smart Women Collaborate. And this morning, we're just having a very foundational conversation on the topic, bridging the gender divide. What we are trying to do is that we are moving beyond the polarized, gender narrative. Matter of fact, I know that every one of us here is very conversant with social media and the conversation happening around, gender, women, feminism. I mean, it's been thrown about all across. We're seeing it on a day-to-day, every single day we're seeing it. And sometimes when you go to social media, it's a bit pathetic, a bit appalling to see some of the narratives that are being pushed out there. It almost looks as if women are in competition with men, and men are also in competition with women. And I think that at this point, the conversation has been a bit diluted. And so we're having this foundational conversation to really understand why the gender equality as a concept, even as a movement, come to be in the first place. Is it really important? Is it an African thing? I mean, there are so many misconceptions around it, and I'm happy that we have just the right people to unpack this conversation for us. This conversation is in twofold. I'm going to be doing the first series of questions to our audience, and then we're going to open up the conversation for to our panelists, and then we're going to open up the conversation for our audience to also come in with a few of their questions so that our panelists can address them as well. And so with that said, we're going to go directly into our conversation. Once again, thank you for joining me. My name is Gifty Boatemaa Annan, Global Lead for HERizon Africa. So I'm going to start with you, Dr. Aglobitse. I hope I got the name right.
Yeah, you are right. Aglobitse.
Fantastic. I'm going to start with you, and then we're going to build a foundational conversation right now, even before we go into the other conversations. And so the first thing that we are asking particularly what historical, social, and institutional realities actually necessitated the adoption of the gender equality framework in the first place. What necessitated this adoption of the framework?
Thank you very much. This is a great question. For the purposes of time, I think I'll just keep it a bit brief, because from the poll that we had, I think quite a number of people are really well established in this whole area of gender equality.
Yeah.
But I think that per history, this framework was, it came into recognition basically because of the unequal power relations, discriminatory social norms, and what should I say, institutional barriers. Power relations, discriminatory social norms across countries, and then institutional barriers. I think these were things that limited opportunities, particularly for women and girls. So this is where it all started from, right? So I would give probably a typical example from an African country, from Ghana. So yes, you've given birth to twins, a girl and a boy. They all came out the same time, bringing them up those days. And then it gets to a point when they are to go to school, those twins, one is asked, Can you help with the cooking? Can you help with the washing, the household chores? And then the other one is sent to school. I'm just giving this as an example. So simply, that is the nurturing. And so at a point in time, you realize that the one who has gone to school, who is the boy, has that power over the girl. So we are all just saying, look, per the definition that we all gave, we said equal opportunities. Why not give equal opportunities to both the girl and the boy who came out at the same time, who have the same brain, you know? So this is where it started from. I must admit that with time, real progress has been made. Real progress has been made. And so, yes, at the family level, the recognition has come that you have to give both males and females, the young ones, both boys and girls, the opportunity. But again, I still use that same analogy to bring out another barrier. So here we are. They are in Kojokope, for example, which is an island, and the family has recognized the fact that we need to send both of them to school, right? So that's at the family level, and so they've sent both of them to school, but they would have to cross a river to enable them attend the school. And then there's river deity that doesn't allow the girl to cross, because there is the belief that if the girl crosses that river whilst in her menstruation, it's a taboo. So you realize that a teenage girl who is probably menstruating for 5 days every month will not be able to cross that river. I'm just giving some of these things for us to understand.
Very practical.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we have made a lot of progress, but we still have a long way to go. Because
Thank
gender
you so much.
equality is not about women versus men, just like we have said. It is about unlocking the full potential of the entire society. That is what it is about. It's about human rights. It's about development. And so this is why it's for all of us, everybody's responsibility to
everybody's responsibility. Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you. I'm sure that our audience are noting down some of the things so that they can bring in their questions with time. I'm going to go to you, Lady Ajo, Priscilla. Doc mentioned something, they were taking it further from there. One of the recurring arguments in gender discourse, right, has always been the fact that gender equality is a Western agenda being imposed on African societies. Now, I want to know, how accurate is this perception, and how would you contextualize, gender equality within African realities?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. First of all, I want to say that the issue of gender equality is an argument that has persisted over time, and it would still continue for a very long time. But I would emphatically say that it's not a new thing to our African society. Long before colonialism, we already had complex systems in which women experienced or exercised their political rights, their economic or spiritual authority. We have examples like the Queen Mothers of Ashanti region, who were in charge of, installing chiefs. They had power, they had control. Let's talk about the Kenyan women who were let's talk about the Kenyan women also. Let's talk about the Dahomey, the Amazon women who were organized female military forces. We've always had women in power, but not as we are discussing now. Now, what we can say is that this foreign influence has rather taken us aback. We have too many instances, or let's say too many foreign influences that are affecting the culture that we know that gave the women that right. Yes, indeed, women did not go to school back in the days, but there were many, many, many things that women did that showed their authority in the family. There is an adage that if you train a woman, you train a whole nation. Why? Because a woman's influence is beyond her individual benefit. It is to the nation, the community, the family, because she is with her husband who she will give advice to. She is the mother who would raise the responsible child. She is the mother who would cater for things and turn the small resources into what? Revenues that will benefit the family. Let's look at, let me give you a typical example. Let's look at our Makola women. They have had authority. In our history, the Pediasi Lodge, the Pediasi Lodge, which we know now, was a gift from then Makola women to the president of Ghana as a personal gift. It shows you the economic power that women had, even as far back as Kwame Nkrumah's era. So what is truly Western in origin is much of a patriarchy, something that has come to rather change or reduce the power that we have. It has been imposed and it has stripped women of many rights. It has really stripped women of many rights. So gender equality was not a foreign ideology. We have been recovering. We are now actually recovering what we lost in the fight for equality. We are now recovering.
All right. Thank you so much, Priscilla, right there. I just saw a comment coming in and said, I'm learning. That's wonderful. That's exactly why we're here, to learn, to unlearn, and to relearn certain things in this journey of life that we're embarking on. Now I get to Leo. Leo is the only man we have here today. Very excited, you know. It's always exciting when you're in the midst of women. I'm sure you have a lot to say. But I want to come to Leo with this particular question. We've heard from Dr. Aglobitse, we've heard from Priscilla as well. And I want to know, I mean, reflecting on your own journey, right? Because you have been a constant ally when it comes to this particular movement. Reflecting on your own journey, what was your first reaction to gender equality? I'm sure that, I mean, it didn't just start. You didn't just start embracing it. I don't know how your journey started. What was your first reaction to gender equality, and how has your understanding of it evolved over time? We want to understand from a male's perspective.
Yeah. Thank you, Gifty, and thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this excellent theme that you've set up, I think, bridging the gender divide. So for me, just like any young boy growing up, those days when there was all this talk about Beijing and all that, we all thought that, oh, send your girl child to school, all those days. We all thought that, wow, what's happening? Are these women coming to take over men's roles? Are men going to be relegated to the background? What is happening? But as I went along, I started my career in health and recognizing the disparities between men and women, as Doris clearly laid out in the historical antecedents, and also further progressing into public health, into reproductive health, and seeing all the challenges that women were going through, the social norms. You have to seek permission from your partner to even do basic things. It kind of changed my whole perception, my narrative around what I knew as a young boy, that women were taking over. And I realized that no, it's not about women taking over, but it's just about ensuring a fairer society for everyone. And that came up in the poll, that gender equality is not about competition. It's not a zero-sum issue that you have won, I have lost. It's about, and it's not a battle between women and men, deepening divisions and all that, but it's about acknowledging differences in experiences between men and women, and then moving on to create equal opportunities. It's not about saying men and women are the same. No, we are not the same. Biologically, we cannot be the same and all that. But it's just about ensuring that if we have opportunities, both have equal rights to those opportunities. As Doris said in the example of giving birth to twins. Why should one go to school? Why should one remain at home in the kitchen? They should all have that equal playing field. And so basically, I think that has changed my perception, shaped me, and now I'm one of the big champions for women's rights, for gender equality, for empowerment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And we see that evidently in the work that you continue to do. But I'm curious. I mean, of course, there's been, I mean, from every one of the contributions we've had so far, we understand that there's been progress. However, we still see that there's still some, barriers. But as a man, I'm still on your case at this point. I want to know, what are some of the, let me say, pushbacks that you've had as a man? Because when you began to understand the concept properly about the fact that it wasn't about competition, now it was about building a balanced societal structure that benefited everybody. What were some of the pushbacks you had, maybe probably from men themselves? And then what are some of the misconceptions you would want to clearly highlight as part of the journey to, fighting for this movement?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, there were pushbacks from men and from even people who should know better. People who are in certain positions that you'd expect that, I mean, people in policy-making positions, people in senior programmatic positions, you expect that when you take forward certain interventions, they will buy into them, but it's not always been easy, even up to today. You realize during the passage of certain acts, certain laws in Parliament, how the conversation progressed. It was as if it was a competition between men and women. I vividly recall the marital, that wasn't the name, but it changed into a marital rape.
That wasn't the name, but it changed into marital rape.
Exactly. The whole bill changed into a marital rape bill. And it kind of changed the whole narrative, and men were pushing against it. Even the Affirmative Action Act itself, which, thank God, was passed 2024. Look at the history of the Affirmative Action Act. It took over 20 years to get it passed, all because of the fight, the pushback, and all that. So I think, as we've all said, there's been a kind of a shift. At least we are seeing some progress. Men are realizing that it is not about win versus lose, but it is about partnership. It's about allyship. And I believe that as we progress, we would have, clear change in the way both men and women react to this thing. And it's not just men, even some women themselves even go against their things that are expected to progress their own cause. So it's not about just men against women, but even some women themselves even fight against causes that are expected to progress their own cause.
Yeah, it's amazing to actually come to that point, and that clearly tells us how entrenched the issue has been, and people have been socially conditioned in a certain way, and even if you are changing it in a way that benefits them, they begin to fight against it. Thank you so much, Leo, for I mean, giving us your perspective. We know that you've done a lot of fights. We want to say thank you so much that you've been able to push through, you know, get some men along the line to join you in this worthy cause. Dr. Aglobitse, I come back to you right here. Now, we continue to say that gender equality is not a woman's issue. We continue to say it. However, at this point, I want to ask the question, what evidence demonstrates that gender equality is more than a woman's issue, right? That it is in fact a prerequisite for inclusive growth, social cohesion, and sustainable development. What are the evidences that shows? Tell us some of them.
I think this is another great question. Sure, the evidence consistently shows that when we have equal opportunities for men and women, societies are more prosperous. Societies are more peaceful. And so if what we need is peace, what we need is for us to grow, for us to be prosperous, then you realize that it is imperative for us to give equal opportunities, equal rights to both men and women, right? And for me, I always like giving the example. So I would bring the example, and I like the example being domesticated. So there was this push on the marital rape. Let me put it that way again. Sex is supposed to be enjoyed by both the man and the woman, biologically.
Can we take that line again? Can we take that line again? Sex is supposed to be enjoyed by both the man and the
woman, biologically. That's how God created it, right? I can tell you, maybe go when you read a lot, majority of women do not attain orgasm. They haven't enjoyed it. And I like being raw at times. So I'm still using the marital rape thing because it was a real pushback. But I think the whole issue was misconstrued. So what the advocates were saying at that time was that, look, give us equal rights. If at the end of the day, we've both worked as husband and wife, and we get home, and physically I am exhausted, just like at times physically you, the man, would also be exhausted, then if we want to have that intimacy, it must be mutually agreed upon. But where I am so exhausted and I say no, and then because of power relations, you, the man, says no, it has to be done by all means, and I'm forced to do it, I'll not even enjoy it. So it ruins that peace the following morning in the home. I'm just giving you this practical example at the family level, right? So if that builds on and on and on, then there will be no peace at home at all. So that's just an aspect of it. Don't forget, I'm also from UNFPA that deals with reproductive health issues. So some of these, I try to give a practical example and make all of us understand. But there are so many other examples that can be given. You know.
Okay. So how? Okay, I'm listening.
So we are saying that if you give us equal opportunities, for example, the other speaker, I think her name is also Gifty, right? She talked about how the woman had she had the gifts, and so she gave out the property to government, to the president, right? Okay. If we are all given that opportunity across board, I don't think we would have any challenge in the world. But unfortunately, it's not across board like that. So that is where the issue comes in. And so we are saying that for us to have stronger economies, for us to have increased labor force productivity, there is the need to give equal opportunities to both men and women. It is only then that we can have improved health outcomes, that we can have improved education outcomes, and that is when governance at the family level, governance at the society level, and governance at national level can be peaceful. If we do inclusive decision making, so at the family level, we want to take decision. Father alone does not take the decision. Mother alone does not take the decision. For me, I even say that we should even include the children whom the decision is going to be made about. Something like, let everyone be involved. So then we all know that, oh, we are taking this decision because this is the outcome that we want. Once we are all included in the decision-making process and we all agree and we all co-create the solution, there's peace. We move on. We prosper at the family level. We prosper at the society level, and we prosper at the national level.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Aglobitse. She is even advocating that she continues to domesticate the conversation because, as particularly she told you where she works, and she's very interested in that. And it's very, very key. And we believe that almost every single thing hinges on the home. I mean, if we're going to raise people who would do well institutionally, they are going to be raised from the home. If we're going to raise people who govern well, they're going to be raised from a household. And so once the household is healthy enough, we're able to raise people who are also very healthy for the society. And I think it's very, very, very important. I was going to,
Maybe just let me just give you four. So this morning when I was coming to work, I was listening to Joy FM. And they were arguing that's what's happening. The young people of these days, this has done that. And then the argument was, whose fault is it? Is it from the parents? Is it or from the family? Or is it from the society? And I was sitting in my car and I was listening and I was laughing. And I said, who is society? Society is made up of the basic unit of the society. It's the family. That's the basic unit. So family A, B, C, Z becomes that society. And so if there is anything that is going to be happening, once we have invested in that family, once we all take that decision at the family level, once everyone is empowered at that family level, when those empowered families come together, the society is empowered, and which translates into the nation being empowered. Right?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doc. I'm going to go to you, Lady Ajo. She keeps dropping off, but okay. We have her now. We have her here at this point.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, wonderful, 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 wonderful. The truth about Africa and African societies, which is something very beautiful about us. I mean, we have a very rich, cultural diversity, right? And a strong attachment to tradition, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. I mean, it's very deeply rooted. Like, we have very beautiful traditions. And of course, we have the otherwise as well. And as a people, as an African society, we are really, really attached to these things that make us, because of course, there are so many beautiful aspects of this, but this is the question I want to ask, right? Lady Ajo, at what point does cultural practice or a traditional norm become inconsistent with the principles of equality, right? If you could also give us any typical examples, at what point?
Well, I would say, first of all, that culture is not static. Every practice that exists today was at some point invented. So the real question is not rather how inconsistent it is, but if the practices that are meant to protect the women are upheld, or whether let's say whether men and institutions are ready to give women the opportunity to take the right position in place. Culture practices become inconsistent when it takes away the freedom of women, their human rights, their willpower to choose what they want. When we deny a person the ability to say no, that because you were a woman, they say, Obankasa, when a man speaks, a woman cannot talk. That is you taking away the person's willpower when it causes physical, psychological harm or economic hardship. Let's look at this female genital mutilation. It's a cultural practice, right? Yeah. What is the benefit of it? To introduce a woman that she has come of age. If a woman has come of age, why must she lose her very essence? And who decides that a woman should pay that price for coming of age? Why is it something that we think that we should practice? Let's look at child marriages. We give away young girls who don't have their own will to even say no. They are forced into marriages. And within that marriage, she cannot say no. So some of them are, let's just say, they are being raped constantly in the name of they are married. Because they are forced into it. It's not their will. They didn't choose. This is culture enforcing it on them.
You just mentioning the concept of rape. Someone just asked in the comments, what happens if your wife rapes you? So he wants you to
when we get to positive masculinity, we'll answer that question.
That's a concerned husband right there. He's asking.
Yeah.
Okay, please, you can continue.
Now let's even look at the inheritance exclusion of women. Previously, women were not allowed to own any properties, right? And even within a family setting, women are not given priority when it comes to assets because they think that she's a woman, she will go and marry. What is the point in giving her what, let's say, is duly hers? She's also a child, right? So what is the reason that she is denied of the benefits that every child or a male child should enjoy?
Yeah.
When we use culture, or let's say when we act in the name of culture to infringe on people's human rights, we should know that we are excluding women from their own rights, and it is not something that society should even encourage. Yes, we are talking about gender equality, but like you said, culture is something that is difficult to change. But I believe that as long as we as human beings keep growing, and we are accepting even the use of mobile phones now in certain things, like let's say now culture is permitting certain things that were not permitted before. We are allowing people to use money instead of the drinks they are supposed to even take to the family of the woman. If we are compromising on certain standards, why can't we also make changes positively to give a woman that equal right to have her own will and choose what she prefers, not what culture deems fit without her approval?
All right, thank you so much, Lady Ajo. We are still having a very crucial conversation on the topic, bridging the gender divide, moving beyond the polarized narrative. Now, I think we're still talking woman. I'm sure the men are here that, like you're saying, it's also about us. We are not hearing anything about us. Now, I'm going to go to you, Leo. This is a very important question. I mean, it brings men into the picture at this point. I would want to know, since we are still on the concept of cultural relativism, how do traditional expectations of masculinity affect both men and women, and what can be done to foster more balanced and constructive gender norms? But I want you to hit more on the men. We have heard
Okay.
a lot of yeah.
This is a big one. So sometimes, as Lady just said, traditional ideas, particularly about masculinity, can limit everyone, particularly men. But for men, there's always that expectation, culturally or traditionally, that you have to be strong. You are not supposed to show your vulnerability. I'm not an account, but this Berman Sue, all those proverbs and things that are brought into the situation tends to make men, how do I say it? Instead of being vulnerable and accepting the situation, and if you have to have that balance from your partner, they don't really come into the picture with that kind of vulnerability. And because children learn a lot about gender roles that they see from the home, it also kind of affects them as they grow up. So as parents or as men, we have a huge role to play in the family setting, in the society, and even the nation. Um, Expectations about modeling respect and fairness. How do we respect our partners, our wives, our women around us, and even the children around us? How do we share responsibilities at home? There is data that indicates that unpaid care work at home, women spend average of about 6 hours or more a day on unpaid care work, compared to just about less than 2 hours for men. That is big. How do we ensure that we balance out these roles? We are not saying it should be exactly 50-50. It cannot, because, I mean, from the biological point of view, we know that women have that nurturing and care role for their children right from birth. So how do men shift the balance, at least, I would say, 45% to 55, and even closer? How do we do that to ensure that we support women? How do we encourage both boys and girls to dream big? That it is not just about what you see, the comfort zone in the kitchen for the girls. How do you also dream big to reach the higher heights that the men are reaching and women like Doris are reaching, having these role models for girls? And also encouraging girls to refrain from saying, this is for boys, this is for girls, this is not for me. Supporting our daughters and sons equally. So this is for men. How do we support both daughters and boys equally, not shifting that balance, giving more resources to the boys because of that so-called cultural norms of inheritance? Oh, this is the boy who inherits me. This one is from my lawn. All those. I remember when my son was born some years ago, I was like, this is the heir to my throne. All those things that we see. How come the girl can be a heir to your throne? The girl can equally be a heir to your throne. So in conclusion, what I want to say that when children grow up seeing equality as normal, equality as a norm, it becomes second nature, and they also grow up giving that same respect and equality to women around them.
Well, thank you so much, Leo. While we are still on you at this point, I would want to ask, and so we hear a lot about the suicidal rates when it comes to men. I mean, the female to male ratio when it comes to suicide. And we know that, of course, men's suicide rate is higher than that of the woman. Could that also have anything to do with the unrealistic expectations that is placed upon the shoulders of men? And then again, there's a last one I want to ask. We are told that They always throw it about men are logical, women are emotional. How true is this? Do you guys, actually lack every scintilla of emotions? Is it that you guys are not emotional at all? What is happening with us? Have you lost your humanity? As a man in the conversation, I just want you to highlight some of these realities for us. I'll definitely come to Dr.
Yeah,
Aglobitse.
thank you. I think I hinted on that earlier about the expectations of men that men are expected to be strong, men are expected to handle all situations, men are not supposed to show emotions and things like that. And that tends to affect men negatively. And that, by extension, leads to the higher suicidal rates that you mentioned. Because if you are going through a challenge as a man and you are able to be vulnerable and speak to someone, it could be a family member, it could be a professional counselor, it could be your religious leaders, you are more likely to have solutions to your problems. But because of those, I don't know if they are cultural, but because of those cultural and innate, inborn things that we come up with, we want to be hard. I'm a man. I have to be hard. I have to warm my face to show that I'm handling this situation, rather than just being vulnerable and accepting that you cannot handle everything. There are people who can support, your partner can support, others can support. So I think for me, the most important thing is about just being vulnerable. So emotions, we have both parts of our brains, the logical part and the emotional part. Why do you want to limit the other part that God has freely given you? Show it. I'm someone who I cry a lot when I have situations. And that doesn't take away my manly or my strong nature from me. In other circumstances too, I show up with my macho. So you need to be balanced in the way you come up as a man, be vulnerable, show concern, don't take it all, seek for help, seek for solution outside your own environs. Yeah, I think that's what I would say.
Fantastic submission. I really wanted you to hit on that. While you were speaking, Charles made a comment saying that we cry sometimes too. All right, Charles, that makes me very teary. Oh my God, I want to cry. Charles, we have our shoulders here for you to cry on as well. We just want our men to understand, men, you don't have to carry it all. You don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. As you do the best you can, seek help, seek support. Dr. Doris, can you add your voice to this very important
When
conversation for us?
when Leo was speaking and
Yeah.
mentioned the crying aspect,
Mm.
what immediately came into mind was when we lost, um, was it last year? Yeah, last year when we lost um,
The eight, is it the,
the eight, 6 or 8 in the brain class,
yeah, yeah.
and the chief of staff broke down. If you see the comments under that, you shouldn't,
Crazy.
you are the man, you should have been this. And I said, what? What are they saying? This is not
Crazy.
about you are the man. This is about the relationships. Do you know how they relate? And then recently also he broke down at another point, and people, I said, can someone come and educate Ghanaians that this is not about being a man, and
So
that is
sad.
about, no. So you see, that is the pressure that society puts on you. So if, for example, he goes and reads all those comments, anytime that aspect of him wants to come out, he would be tempted to suppress it.
So sad, some person.
But it's not right. Because if you keep suppressing the emotions and emotions, one day it just bursts. It's like you putting a palm wine and closing, and then it's fermenting, right? And so one day it blows up. So I think that we should also be educating everyone. That's why I like the aspect that says it's everybody's responsibility.
Yeah.
So that we do not keep telling the men that this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do. We have to let them express themselves emotionally anytime it comes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Aglobitse. I mean, the example you gave is so typical, and I mean, it's very, it comes home to us. I mean, I know most of us saw that post. Most of us saw the chief of staff.
Yeah.
Most of us saw it. And matter of fact, most of us saw the comments that came in. I mean, I'm hoping that if any of us on this platform at this moment were part of those people who sent in those comments, of course, I hope that we are all learning.
Exactly.
Because the thing is that the way we think, the way we behave, and our, everything that we are comes to light when we start making comments, when we start talking. And some of the times when you see some of these people making those comments, they're very young guys, very young men. They are not older men, they are younger men. And that raises a lot of concern. Because if the future belongs to these ones, and this is already the pattern of thoughts that they have been able to, come to, then there's a reason, there's a cause for alarm. And I'm very grateful that you mentioned that very typical example. Our dear man, please, please, please. It's not true. It's not true that you cannot cry. It's not true that you cannot show emotions. You can't always be logical. Matter of fact, even women are logical sometimes. We are humans. So we have our logical aspects, we have our emotional aspect. Please do not let some of these cultural narratives that have been perpetuated over time, bring you to a place where you will just destroy yourself. Now, before I'll come back to you, Dr. Aglobitse, but I'll go to Lady Ado for this question. And then I'll come back to you. The terms positive masculinity and, toxic masculinity are increasingly shaping gender conversations. Lady Ado, what do these concepts actually mean, and how can we promote healthy expressions of masculinity?
Well, this is a topic that I am very passionate about, given the fact that we are pursuing gender-based violence on a regional level in Ghana to make sure that women have the right to be safe and protected. But I want to first of all address a misconception that we have about toxic masculinity. When we say toxic masculinity, it doesn't mean that men are bad or they are toxic, but it refers to the specific set of behaviors or norms or ideas that men must be dominant. They should be emotionally closed. Men in our local that men don't cry, be in control at all times. These things, they don't just harm women, they harm the men as well. We can see through data that we have more men committing suicide than women. We have more widows in our communities. Why? Because the women have the ability to show their emotions. So we can always say that women are being abused. But data gives us a question. What about the men? Men in our society don't even want to seek medical help because it shows that they are weak. They are less likely to go to the hospital, and they are most likely to even die younger. And it's not because of biology, but it's because of culture messaging that equates vulnerability to weakness. So it forces men to harbor so much. And we all know that stress can kill you faster than HIV can. And so when men are doing we don't question. How many women can say that they've even ever asked their husbands or their partners that, is there anything that I have done that also hurts you? But because men don't show emotion, we think only women feel pain. But no, men are also feeling pain. Now, when we talk about positive masculinity, we are calling on healthy manhood, things that would give men also the ability to also just be human, just be themselves. If you feel like crying, in fact, God made tears for us to regulate the pain that we have. It's not evil. So why shouldn't men have the opportunity to also express their grievances? society makes it so difficult for men, especially in our African context. But talking about positive masculinity, one of the things that I want to amplify and make more understanding to a lot of people is that men should not feel weak because they also want to express themselves. In fact, it is necessary that men should express themselves. And women should make it a point to also give men the opportunity to express themselves and not use it as a tool against them. We have to engage men and boys as partners in our gender work so that they learn how to manage these norms and pressures that they are being introduced to. This social emotional learning, we have to include social emotional learning in schools. We need to teach boys about the language of feeling. We should stop telling boys that, oh, when a young boy falls down, we say, don't cry, men don't cry. These trainings, we are psychologically programming the men to think that it is a crime to be human. We need to celebrate men also who are able to express themselves. We have so many examples. We have great men in societies who are leaders, who advise communities. Because they have empathy and they are able to understand that emotions run both ways, they are able to give sound advice that brings results in our homes when there's conflict. We have to raise boys, like we have single mothers who are raising boys, and they are pushing this anxiety disorder onto them, addressing issues like, the boys should be supermen even at their young age. We have to change that and bring it to a point where there's a reform for traditional masculine identity. We have to allow more awareness, more education. We have to give platforms. We have too many platforms addressing issues concerning women's pain. We must also include men in this process so they also have the opportunity to have their grievances heard. We are not asking men to be less just because we are saying they should be more positive in expressing their emotions. We are rather asking them to be more, to be whole, and to be present in whatever they are feeling so that they do not have to carry those pressures alone. After all, they are human. There is not we don't have different colors of the blood that runs in our veins. So this should tell us that when women are hurting, men can also hurt too. And so if women have all this platform to address their issues, society should look at giving men also the opportunity to express. And it must start from home, how we raise our children, and even the kind of things that we make them watch, how our parents talk to each other. We must allow change to creep into our culture and our society gradually by giving them the equal opportunity that we have as women.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. Very, very insightful. Thank you so much. I mean, the conversation is gradually coming to a close, and I'll be asking a few round of questions, maybe two, but I want to let our audience know that we're opening up the chat box. We've already opened it up. Please put in your questions so that we can send them directly to our speakers. We've had some people come in with some contributions. I'll be reading them very soon. Now, back to you, Dr. Aglobitse. Recently, the president of the UN General Assembly, made a statement, and I quote, he said, gender equality has never been more supported globally than today. But at the same time, we have never seen such organized attempts. Now, that's very critical. It says we have never seen such organized attempts to roll back these successes. Now, this presents, of course, a paradox where we are seeing progress. Progress is visible, yet we can see that resistance as well persists. Now, my question to you would be that from a global human rights and development perspective, how do you explain this paradox? And what are some of the key emerging threats to gender equality progress? Dr. Aglobitse.
Okay. Thank you for this perspective also. So just as the President of the General Assembly noted that progress and
Progress is visible, yet
yeah.
there's
So,
resistance.
I just said, I put it, I said, progress and resistance currently now just coexist. And so this reminds us that the gains in gender equality cannot be taken for granted. They must be protected through a sustained dialogue, right? Evidence-based policies, strong institutions, that is investing in institutions, and making collective leadership. Lasting change is achieved not by imposing solutions. If you impose solutions, it will not work. So there is the need to dialogue, to co-create the solutions. If I am involved in deciding on what the solutions are, then we can do it together. And so this brings me back that there is the need that we always domesticate things and build local ownership, demonstrating that gender equality strengthens families, strengthens communities, and strengthens nations. When culture becomes an ally for human rights, then really transformation will take place.
Recording in progress.
When culture becomes an ally for human rights, then transformation begins. This is because, yes, culture and human rights are mutually exclusive. Culture is dynamic and has always evolved. We've just talked a lot about culture, and you realize that human rights issues are embedded. So once we start evolving our decisions as cultural people, as people who believe in customs, who believe in traditions, then we can advance gender equality. And if we are to do this, it means that we have to work with communities, not against them. We need to engage our traditional leaders, we need to engage our religious leaders, engage women, engage men, engage young people to identify and strengthen positive cultural values. When we do all these things, then we will also be respecting our human rights and do things with dignity. So culture really becomes an ally for human rights if we work together for us to appreciate the human rights issues within our cultural setting. Remember, I keep saying that gender equality is not about women versus men. It is about unlocking the full potential of society. It is a human rights imperative. It is. And it is the only way that we can find the foundation for peace, prosperity, and a sustainable development.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aglobitse. I mean, from the beginning, you mentioned the fact that, I mean, we cannot impose the solutions on people, on society. There is a need for actual dialogues where we get comfortable with uncomfortable conversations. And you have mentioned some very key things, the need to domesticate this whole, practice in order to be able to build local ownership. I mean, I think a lot of us have picked some very key things from That's very submission. Thank you so, so much. Leo, I'm going to come to you, and then I come to you, Lady Ajo, and then we have the questions from our audience. And so, Leo, I'm still on the statement that was made by the President of the UN General Assembly. I do not know, I think you had fallen off when I mentioned it. She said that gender equality has never been more supported globally than today. But at the same time, we have never seen such organized attempts to roll back these successes. And it means that, of course, we're seeing progress. However, there's persistence when it comes to resistance. Now, I would actually want to ask you, from a policy and governance perspective, what factors do you think contribute to the gap between these gender commitments and the realities that we experience within societies and institutions?
Yeah, thank you, Gifty. Yes, apologies, I dropped off at a point.
Yeah.
Yes, you are right, and the Secretary General actually captured it. We've made lots of progress globally, but we also realize that the change we are expecting is slower than and more complex than we expected due to a few things. Now, first of all, cultural and social norms are really ingrained. They don't change overnight. I mean, these are things that have been passed on from generation to generation. And so changing them takes time, and it wouldn't change overnight. It's still work in progress. And those of us who are active in the space, those of us who are allies, who are partners, should continue to emphasize that and work hard at it to change norms gradually. And then also implementation of these policies. We have lots of policies. If we come to our own country, I mean, since 19 whatever, we've been having lots of gender equality acts, policies, frameworks, so many of them. Just recently, we launched the National Gender Policy. We had the Affirmative Action Act. We have the Domestic Violence Act, Children's Act. All those things are related to gender equality. Are we really implementing them? Are we putting resources to these acts, these policies, these guidelines? Should we just wait and say we are no more going to launch any new policies? The money that we use to pull people together for consultations and all that, can we put them into just doing little things that will move the dial a little, that will push the dial a little? Should we look at that rather than reinventing the wheel and redrafting these policies over and over again? And also lots of pushback and misinformation, both at the global level and then locally. Globally, we all know there's a big movement against gender. I don't want to mention any names, but gender equality, things around rights, both women and even men rights. There's a big movement against this, and there's a lot of money being pushed into countries to fight against organizations and people who are championing this right. So these are some of the issues, and you realize that yes, you have commitments on paper, but the actions to push them forward, and then the accountability to ensure that these commitments are put into place are not there. And I think that is where we need to make a lot of difference and continue to advocate. People like you, people like us on this platform, continue to advocate so that leadership takes these things seriously. For me, particularly the Affirmative Action Act and the National Gender Policy are areas that I think should be two-item actions that we should all move and ensure that these are really, really implemented. We have systems in place to track them. The commitment that we made, 2026, we are expected to achieve something. Have we achieved them? 2027, there are targets that we are expected to meet. Are there systems in place to track them, or will just like the Millennium Development Goals, like the SDGs, it will pass and then we'll go back to set up new commitments. So these are things that I think
Some of
we should
the gaps. Thank you so much, Leo. Very, very important stuff mentioned there. Now, Lady Ajo, now Leo has indicated some of the gaps that we have, implementation gaps, and I mean entrenched cultural norms, and I mean a whole, global attempt to roll back the progress that has been made over time. I want to understand from your perspective as well, how can governments move beyond developing, these frameworks and all these instruments, interventions to effectively implement it? So we're talking about effective implementation, monitoring, and measuring progress across societies and communities. Good help. Ajo, you are muted. We can hear you.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So first of all, I want to say that gender equality is not a women's movement. No. It is not women waiting for men to give them permission. It is a human movement waiting for all of us to show up and give each other that equal opportunity to just be human and also enjoy the benefit of society. First of all, we need to know that the problem is not the absence of framework, but it is the architecture of the implementations that we have. When we want to implement solutions without the input of the people who are the beneficiaries of it, it becomes a top-down approach, which does not reflect and becomes hard for the women to adapt or accept because it is done without their consent. We must include women in decision-making, first of all. It is very, very important. We must also understand that there can be no change if there are no budgets allocated to even implement. Being in this sector, I can tell you for a fact that budget allocation for gender issues are still not prioritized. We are discussing gender, but we are not enforcing the laws that are supposed to protect or even promote gender equality in our communities. Let me give you a real life experience. Recently, we were doing an activity on positive masculinity. We sent letters around to institutions, government institutions, to bring men to be educated. They sent us women. They didn't bring us men. They sent us women because they still don't, or they still haven't gotten the concept of the fact that it is not about women, it is about society. It is about everybody. If we can prioritize the issues of gender equality as we are doing certain issues, we would realize that our economy would even be stronger. Look at the number of women that contribute economically to our GDP. Let's look at how our economy is growing because of entrepreneurship and all this. We need to understand that government must make room for women to get access to more education. They must also get equal rights to funding, financial resources to be able to even do the things that they want to do. We don't even have survival centers for women because there are no allocation of budget. I am still hammering on the allocation of budget because everything comes down to resource. Even if you know how to do it and you don't have the tool to do it, you cannot do it. So change would only come if we put the right tools in place. So governments must prioritize budgeting issues that promote equality and also make laws. Our labor laws can be improved to give women more opportunity or equal opportunity. We should not deny women their promotions or the things that they have worked to gain just because we think that female leaders are difficult to work with. There are practical issues in a society daily that shows us that today government is not, or let's say the government or the institutions in place are not implementing the same laws that we all have agreed on, or let's say legislation has agreed on to give us those rights. Implementation without resource, we are still dreaming, I would say.
Okay, thank you so much, Lady Ajo. She keeps hammering on resource allocation. because it's a very important aspect of the work. Everything can only be pushed more and more with the resources that are rightly allocated to this cause. I want to now come to our audience quickly. I see certain things that we have already put in the chat box. Please, if you have any questions, please, this is the time to type it in. I'm going to read it to our speakers, and then they can quickly answer them. Then we go our way as well. I do not know if anyone is still going to address when the guy said, what about if you are raped, if you're a husband and then you are raped? Lady Ajo, I think that is something maybe you want to touch on. What do you do as a man if you're raped by your husband? I think you want to touch on that for us. If you're a man and you're raped by a wife,
well,
sorry.
I would say that, men, like I said about positive masculinity, men have the same rights as women.
Exactly.
It is not a shame to come and say that you have been raped by your wife or or somebody who is older than you. A study shows that a lot of men lose their virginity to older women who they are left in the care of. So if we keep enforcing, or society makes it difficult for men to also come out and say that they are being raped, it would not help. So it is necessary for the men to also take the same action that women take. We cannot say that it is good for the women and deny the men. If we are talking about equality, then we must be fair. So men also have the right to take actions against women who have violated their human rights.
All right, Dr. Aglobitse,
and maybe just to add to what she's saying, when you go to Dovsu, and you go to Dovsu and you go to the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection's Outreach Support Center, there are cases where men have reported issues of abuse against them, except that it's quite low. So it is for us, once we agree, because we are talking about dignity for both men and women. It's not just the dignity, it's not the respect, dignity is not just for women. And so whatever it is, if we should be able to empower our men so that if you are abused as a man, you can equally report.
And of course, even when a man is abused by a man as well, because we continue to see that as well. Yes. Yeah. So someone is asking, so is it okay to have two wives? Twist, I don't know at what point within the conversations you wanted to ask this question, but Twist
can I also ask him whether it is
okay to have two husbands? Okay.
I think it came up at a point when we were discussing the marital rape. I think when Doris went into the conversation around marital rape. So I think he felt that, if the wife is tired, then why don't you have two wives so that you can... I think that was where the question came from.
Hey, Twist. Okay. So, Leonard, do you want to answer that question? He's asking, is it okay to have two wives? I mean, from your perspective, I just want to hear from very dicey question.
I don't have any comments on that.
So I have always, when we are having this conversation, particularly when it comes to this one, and you ask me, is it okay? Because it's also a gender issue. Is it okay for a man to have two wives? I throw the question back. Is it okay for a woman to have two husbands?
Okay.
Because it is the same reason for which we are saying that the woman says, I'm tired, I can't have this, I can't have this. Men also get tired, right? So if the woman is also on edge and you, the man, you are saying, no, I am tired, I can't have it. Is it okay for the woman to also go out? And so they, by the time we finish, they come out with their own conclusions. You know? That's why I keep saying, and I think Joe and Leo also agreed that we should always have the conversation, co-create the solution.
Yeah.
So for our colleague who is asked that question, we need to co-create the solution, the answer.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
What is good for the goose is good for the
gander. That's true. Dominic Esiao, I think this is a little bit of a contribution. He says that African mentality places men as superhuman and thus have stronger resistance to virtually every part of life, such that men are always financially strong to absorb all family bills. With that, men find it difficult to seek help on anything. Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Dominic. This one too is from Jessie. She says, gender equality is not a movement of women, but it's a human organization. Okay, she was quoting from Ajo's submission where everyone is involved. This sinks deep. All right, thank you so much, Jessie. All right, we have, I think, a question from Doris Mante. Said, please, from the aspect including our children in terms of policy making in our homes, from the aspect of including our children in terms of policy making in our homes, I want to ask that what do you do when, as a girl child or daughter, you're being ignored or even to the extent of being thrown out of the home in the name of you have no right to inherit or own any of your father's property? What should be the best step for such a situation? Any of our speakers want to take this?
So this is where the issue comes from, and this is where we are saying that there is the need for us to revisit this whole issue of gender equality and get everyone to understand it, that gender equality is not about women, rather it is about the inclusivity, for us to include everyone in the decision making. So yes, I remember I mentioned this, that at the family level, once we all come together, the decision is going to be about the entire household. The girl is part of the household. So why don't you involve her in it? Why don't you involve, even if it's the boy child, in it? You know, when they are involved, they tend to understand the issues better. It's just like in the classroom. You are teaching mathematics, and so you get the children to understand that this is 1 and plus another 1 equal 2. Once the child grabs it, it works. So is decision making. But where you just come and you say, you cannot use your phone. No, we can't buy smartphones for you. Don't forget that child is attending school. So if you don't give the child the reason and for that child to accept it and give you a solution, the child would go and get the phone, and you would never know anyway that he or she has a phone. So I appreciate this aspect where she's coming from and saying, what do you do? From my perspective, it's just about ignorance of such a family. So there's the need. That is why we are doing some of these things. There's the need to keep talking about these issues, probably at the level of the church. When we go to church, we should be able to talk about these issues. When we go to school, we should be able to talk about these issues. Even at the PTA, Parents Teacher Association, we should be able to bring out these things so that we'll be able to beat that ignorance. We'll be able to understand that for us to achieve the best, we should respect the dignity of the children. The fact that they are children doesn't make them less human beings, right? So it is only then that we can all move forward. Because you see, these days we keep saying that, and the youth are into drugs, and the youth are... When you go deep into it, you realize that a lot of these things happen because at the family level, we have not been able to engage them. When we have children having children, the child is a child, teenage pregnancy, she is delivered, another child. What do you think can go into nurturing of such a child?
Oh,
So
okay.
we have a long way to go, and that's why we keep saying that we have made progress, but we still have a long way to go in terms
Okay.
of our policies, in terms of our implementation of the policies.
Okay.
And how do we really domesticate some of these answers, some of these solutions at the family level? That's the issue.
Okay. So
And also just to add a bit to it about involvement of our chiefs and traditional leaders. I think fortunately Doris is also a queen mother. And so, yes, we need to bring on board the custodians of our culture. I mean, these
okay.
inheritance practices are things that have been passed on from generation to generation. Is it time for us to involve these people in the conversation, get chiefs on board, get queen mothers on board, so that what about if, for instance, my brother has only girls, 3 girls? What about them? Who inherits his properties? So these are some of the things that should come up for discussion and then amending some of these cultural norms that have been with us for so long. What I
So
have
that's
done
okay.
practically to get my children involved, we sit down, they write what they want to do, what's the expectations of us as parents. Then I go to the office, I type it nicely, and I put it on all their doors and even our own doors. So I do mine, my wife does theirs. And then we are all tracking it. We see it, hey, you are not on track with this, you are not on track with this. And I think that enhances communication and breed camaraderie, and it helps the family to grow. And with that, it can translate into the school, the society, and the nation at large.
Such a healthy family practice. Now, I want to know, so in this particular case, if that is the case the person is facing now, is there anything, I mean, any proper, like, where should the person go? What are they supposed to do? Or we do not have anything currently in Ghana that is able to address this issue right now. Like, if she's facing this right now as a girl child who has been excluded from properties, where does she seek, you know, some
So,
solution?
so if she's a girl child and has been excluded in sharing the property of the I don't know, we would have to probe into it,
Okay.
get a
Okay.
lot more of understanding. Is she
Okay.
a minor? Because for all you know, she's a minor, and so is being given, you know, our laws legally. So somebody will have to hold it in trust for you and all that. But if she is old enough and she has been excluded, I think that when she comes and we have a conversation, we'll get the legal people to also
Okay.
advise. Because there are
Okay.
times too, it is just a little bit of dialogue. Once there is that dialogue, that's it. I was surprised, you know, he mentioned something about traditional leaders. You know, it's inheritance. And for those who are patrilineal, if it's supposed to be a chief and you are not a male, you cannot have it. We have been able to go to levels where once the custodian for that stool, it's for a family lineage. If there is no male child, there are people now, they put the women there as chiefs. You see, that's how culture has really evolved. You know, so I think that for this particular one, there's the need to engage the person further.
Okay.
And that's why we keep talking about dialogue. For all you know, the
Oh,
people are ignorant, and once they are
okay.
talking to dude.
All right. Thank you so much. So, am I permitted to connect her to
Yeah,
you?
yeah,
So that okay.
connect her.
So,
Because
Doris,
we have
after
social
this
protection,
conversation,
we have social protection lawyers who can assist. So connect her
okay.
to give her my number.
Okay. Okay. So, Doris, if this is a personal issue, please reach out to me after the conversation, and then I'll just connect you to Dr. Aglobitse for this. All right. So we are just concluding this very insightful conversation. We have a question from Nana Adoma, and she says, "Thank you so much for the opportunity. Please, my question is, Is the women empowerment organizations really teaching us the right thing to do? Or we, the women, are the ones not channeling it well? The reason for my question is because looking at the way the women are rising, our men's voice will disappear in the next year to come. Okay, so that's what she's asking. I don't know if any of you.
Okay, so let me come in again. I think we have all identified this as a challenge. Of course, when the issues came up, remember from the very word go, we agreed that we have the inequality, particularly when it comes to power relations, when it comes to discriminatory social norms, when it comes to institutional barriers. Remember, we talked about all that. And it is because women were disadvantaged. That's the history. And that's why this whole movement. And so, yes, it continues. But where there is, it's because you see, we are talking about an equal society. So we don't want a situation where the women are above there and then the men get down. Then it means we will come to zero again and start. And so that is why you realize that currently for example, Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection last year, for the first time, held a national masculinity conference. Because there is that identification that no, we don't want to have that situation where the women are overpowered. I mean, how do I put the men? Where there is a change, what we want is an equal thing. So as much as we are striving for that equal thing, we also need to sustain the gains for the men to know that we are, because we are saying it's not about women. We are saying it's about
Men
decision making
as well.
We are saying
Okay.
it is for everyone to be included.
All right.
Yes. So I think that organizations now have what we call men and boys engagements. There is a whole strategy on that, which gender equality organizations are using now to ensure that that situation which she has envisaged does not happen.
Okay. All right.
So
thank you so much.
Encourage everyone, including her, to also start using such strategies.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. I mean, it has been a very insightful conversation. In a bit, I'm going to be taking our final words from our speakers. But before I do that, I see a question, not a question. Someone has a request. Okay. Lady Ajo has also, okay, said, I want Dr. Doris to visit North Dei district in the Volta region and have our women educated because they are giving up. This is from Pearl. Pearl, I don't know what it is, so you can reach out to myself and then we can channel this to our speakers. If there are opportunities for certain people to come up there, I'm sure it will be done. All right, so finally, I want to take our last final words from all our speakers. I'm going to start from Lady Ajo. What's going to be your final words to our audience? Lady Ajo, are you there? Probably it's the network. So I'll definitely move to Mr. Gobah.
Thank you, Gifty, for putting this together. It's been great. Let's continue the conversation. For me, being the only man on the panel and a strong advocate, I want to say that gender equality is not about men versus women. It's about how we work together, leveraging on the strength of both genders, bringing our strength into the game. It is not about taking something away from men or from women and giving it to the other. It is about expanding opportunities for everyone to benefit. And if this is done, both men and women, boys and girls will have more access to opportunities, equal opportunities. We all benefit equally, and as a society, as a nation, as a family, we all gain economically and socially. So that will be my concluding remarks. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Leo. That is Mr. Leonard Selim Gobah from the British High Commission, who is the Social Development Advisor for the British High Commission. Thank you so much. All right, Lady Ajo, you are back. Can we hear your final words? Once you're in, can we hear your final words? I think Lady Ajo is still having problems with her network. Okay. Lady Ajo, are you here?
Yes, I am here.
Wonderful. So sorry about the network. I see.
That's okay. I actually had to jump into another conference, so I'm just going to be quick. It is very important for us to understand as a society that it's not about men and women. We are not fighting against each other. The last question that you read out, when the lady asked that, are we teaching the right thing or they are not implementing? There is a misconception about gender equality that you find when you even go into the community to talk to the traditional leaders. They refuse you access because they think that whatever you're coming to teach the women is going to turn them against their husbands, to be disrespectful. But gender equality is rather promoting societal growth, positivity, things that would move us further. We are not saying that women should be empowered to go and fight men. No. We are saying that we should all have equal human rights. The basic thing that is your basic human right. Nobody should determine for you what is good for you without your consent. We are saying that one gender should not be denied the benefits just because they came biologically as female. We are saying that society should own up, grow up, and adapt or readjust their norms, their laws to make room for everybody to climb and go further. The misconception that what men can do, women can do, is not what gender equality talks about. Gender equality is preaching human rights. And that is why we are saying that men are our partners, not our enemies, because we cannot achieve equal human rights, or we cannot have gender equality if we do not involve everyone into this war. So I would say that everyone should know that gender equality is not here to preach women against men. Rather, we are saying that let's all be one, let's all enjoy equal human rights. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lady Ajo. Thank you so much. That's the founder and governance strategist for Smart Women Collaborate. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on. Our the final words from Dr. Aglobitse. Can you talk to us, Dr. Doris?
Thank you very much, Gifty. I would add my voice to that of Lady Ajo and Leo to say that gender equality should not be taught anywhere as women's issue. Rather, it should be a shared societal value that benefits everyone. We have to equip both girls and boys with the knowledge, skills, and attitudes to respect one another and embrace equality as we lay the foundation for more inclusive, peaceful, and prosperous society. So basically,
wonderful.
That is what
Thank you so much. I mean, it's been like a whole conversation. It's been very interesting, and I'm excited that our audience have really enjoyed it. I mean, they really expressed themselves. I just want you to know that the recorded version of this conversation will be uploaded to our YouTube platform, hopefully by next week. And so you can have access to the conversation anytime, and then you can share it with others as well. Then again, this conversation was brought to you by HERizon Africa, which happens to be a women-centered hub that is currently advancing women's leadership and representation, women's economic agency, and then of course, constructing, we're trying to cultivate constructive male allyship for this whole progress for, of course, continental development and sustainable inclusive development as well. My name is Gifty Boatemaa Annan. Of course, it's been a pleasure having you on with us. Please, let's all have a very good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for coming, Dr. Aglobitse and Leo. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.
We'll definitely meet again next month.
Thank you.
For another
Thank you all the participants.
Nice weekend.
Okay, so bye.